Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing okay. Let me check my volume. And guys, again, the reason why that little blurb is at the bottom, I call it a vulgar blurb because of the way it looks, somewhat of an eyesore. I don't necessarily know another way to communicate to the public. You can click the link at the bottom if you want to donate because Super Chat is not there. So I put that there. I leave that there as an alternative. Let's see, the volume sounds okay. Good, perfect. So I came across an article and I just want to do this video because not shocked by this, but more so just it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Let me say it that way. Look at this. The Democratic Party apparently is getting a battlefront. Ooh, a battlefront? Is that what it's called? What is that? What do you call it? Battle. Let's see, what is it? So the Democratic Party. So battle platforms. The Democratic Party has been investing in money to strengthen and harden their systems and to hire people that will push the narrative on Facebook, Twitter, and essentially social media. They've hired trolls. They've hired an army of trolls. An army of paid trolls. People who sit there and will say bad things to Bernie Sanders supporters in the last election, and who will now say bad things to whoever is the progressive in the race or whoever is against the person who they're pushing. I find this to be amazing. If you need to do this, by the way, that means you're doing something wrong. That means you're doing something wrong. If you need to go out and pay for support, you're doing something wrong. It's fucking politics. I mean, the entire point of politics to some degree is to gather large support for people to get behind your particular policy objectives, or the other way around, you being the avatar of their will. And in this grim political reality, in the absence of support, you have people who are willing to just buy it. That's amazing. That's utterly amazing. Incomprehensibly pathetic. And yeah, utterly amazing. Fuck support. I don't remember Bernie Sanders ever having to pay for support. And I'm using that as an example because I want to get across that's real support. He had people out there who would march and struggle and be online and form as an army. Now, the Democratic Party looks at it and says, we need to have something similar to that. We can't find anything similar to that. Let's just create a job. Let's commodify political action and commodify support for a candidate. This is an utterly amazing time that we've arrived at, where support for the candidate itself can be manufactured. Part of this has to do, I can't think of the name of the test. It's like Schofield or Sco something test. But what it boils down to is when people are in a group, they tend to lump in with the group behavior. They tend to feel more comfortable with what the group comes up with, even when they know the group is wrong. If you're online and there's a strong online presence for the candidate who they're pushing, you may be tricked into this mindset that there's a larger presence than what there actually is. You think, wow, there's a lot of people who are interested in Hillary Clinton, and you find out, oh, 3/4 of them were paid by Hillary Clinton. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let's take a look at the article. I'm not going to hold this one too long, but this is fascinating to me. It's completely fascinating. Democrats seek stronger social media presence to guard against potential Russian interference in midterms. Let me see. Now, they were calling it battle station organizers. That's what Dave Weigel called it. Battle station organizers. People who are online saying bad things to lefties and progressives and trying to push a very specific narrative for their particular candidates. If you have to do this, you've missed the boat. Please understand that. And maybe not the candidate, because the candidate doesn't necessarily care. The candidate is in a reality where he's representing a small sliver of the electorate, a 1%. And how do you get the rest of the country to vote for you when the part that you represent is just a small sliver? Let's say if you're Democrat, maybe 5%. How do you get the rest? How do you get the rest? You need to shape reality itself. And how do you deal with situations where when those people get pissed off at you, a populist backlash at the policies that your party has been espousing for the past 20 years? How do you deal with that? I know how we deal with that. We buy people to try to push back against the narrative. It's like saying, hey, instead of us doing something about poverty and all this other stuff, we're just going to hire more cops. We're just going to hire more cops. Instead of us actually doing something to deal with the populist backlash through policy, by making sure that those people's needs are met, where they wouldn't necessarily need to backlash in the way that they've been backlashing. No, we need people on Twitter and Facebook to push back and be mean to other human beings on Facebook and Twitter. I find this to be amazing. I find this to be utterly amazing. Look, my basic point is this. You're in politics. Your goal is to get large crowds of people to come out and vote for you because you're supposed to be representing their interests. If you need to go online and hire people to be mean to other people, then you've missed the boat. There's something wrong in what you've been espousing, what your party's been espousing, what is taking place in that country. There's something fundamentally wrong. Hiring people to be mean to other people on Twitter and Facebook is not the way to do it. Apparently, they have detection mechanisms also that are supposed to detect Russian trolls. I can see where this is going. This is going to be detecting a lot of people who just dislike the Democratic Party. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look. Let's see, where are we? Right here. Democratic leaders fearful of potential Russian interference and burned by recent conservative success on social media have begun a new effort to win the midterm election battle on platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the party organization in charge of strategy for House of Races, introduced internal software spring to identify suspected automated Twitter accounts or bots that frequently post about key races that seem similar to the fake accounts that the United States intelligence officials and technology firms say were part of the Russia interference in 2016 presidential election, party officials said. The system is also designed to provide a more aggressive strategy to drive discussion. There we are. To drive discussions on Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms, an area in which Democrats think they were outmaneuvered in 2016, with the committee hiring dozens of social media specialists to fight daily messaging battles online. They're hiring people because there's no enthusiasm for what they're pushing, because nobody knows what the hell they're pushing. I mean, understand how sad this is. You, as a political party, have given up on trying to drive any level of enthusiasm for anything that you're pushing. That's not John F. Kennedy saying, we're going to the goddamn moon. And people are like, yes! Let's go to the moon! That's not that. That's none of that. That's none of that. This is, all right, let's just hire people. Let's just hire people. Let's just hire other human beings and let's have those human beings to get on there, drive the narrative and drive the conversation. Let's just do that. Let's just do that. We don't need the real work of getting shit done and getting people enthused about our campaigns and doing big things and having these projects, at least if you're talking about from the left, these things of bringing people together to do big fucking things. Screw that. Screw that. Just hire that company to hire some people to, work the shit out online. Let's keep going. The previously underreported effort has dispatched 43 staff members called battle station organizers to the most competitive districts in the nation, where they're building grassroots network to spread pro-democratic messages, as well as attacks on Republican and local Facebook and Twitter communities. The DCCC has flagged nearly 10 accounts as malicious bots to Twitter, which shuts them down, committee staffers said. So they're also telling on other people's accounts, oh, that account looks like a Russian bot. That account looks like a Russian bot. In which case, Twitter shuts the account down. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. They're going to ruin Facebook and Twitter. And certainly, this is going to be used in primaries also, meaning this will be used against other Democrats, especially if you're talking about lefties. There was a report that somebody's Facebook group was shut down just before the election, meaning a lefty Facebook group. So I would not be shocked if this is going to be coming to an opponent near you. This is completely different.
This is not a store. This is we know your size and style the moment you...
There we go. This is completely different from what we've done in the past cycle, said Dan Sinha, the executive director of the DCCC. Under the new model, Democratic organizers paid for by the National Party Committee recruit volunteer social media activists, I like that, put it in quotes, like the people who would knock on doors and work on phone banks. The new staff members work to place political, potentially viral content in local Facebook groups, like they've once tried to influence the letter to the editor's page of local newspapers. Essentially, these guys are going out and putting in content in these various groups to try to get a viral story going. Not to mention whatever they're doing, trying to drive a narrative from the standpoint of stories. I'm amazed by this. Republicans, meanwhile, have more limited programs of providing House candidates with digital training and support for campaign staff members. A focus on social media organizing is quickly becoming the new standard as Democrats increase the volume of political persuasion efforts on social media. I love that. I like the way they use that term. Political persuasion efforts. A growing tool for reaching voters as television viewership declines and smartphones increases. Democrats concluded after the 2016 election that Republicans had outperformed their efforts both in paid and viral memes driven by the candidate Donald Trump. To be fair, Donald Trump got like $3 billion worth of free television coverage. Bernie Sanders is the one that beat the stuffing out of her in social media. Look, I don't know what takes place on the Republican side, so I can't necessarily say that this kind of absolute certainty. What I will say is, from the standpoint of the left, Bernie Sanders beat the stuffing out of her. The media ignored Bernie Sanders, meaning that the only way he was really gaining traction was through social media. He was gaining it through the internet. The Young Turks being one of the shows that was promoting it, like independent media was pushing it. I'm just making the point that Sanders was fundamentally ignored in the media. It was social media that was the thing that pushed Sanders' campaign along. I don't know what they're talking about with Donald Trump, but if they automatically change what they're saying about Trump and Sanders, the story makes sense. Let's see. The catch to this, and the thing that's funny to me, is they're now looking for automated Twitter accounts that is posting information on their page. And look, I'm not against that, by the way. If the accounts that they're finding are indeed automated Twitter accounts and not just people who are posting because they don't like the DNC or something the DNC is doing. If they're posting against Doug Jones because Doug Jones has voted like 60% with Donald Trump, and they say, hey, the guy's a robot, then yeah, I'm against that, because that's them essentially trying to get accounts taken down that are being critical of their accounts. But if it's automated, yeah, I'm not for the automated accounts. I guess the question becomes, this battle station stuff, how far does this battle station stuff go? And is this them being mean to other people online, which what they were doing in the last election, which I suspect this is what they're going to be doing here too. So right here. So here's another one. In both races, Democrats found that automated Twitter accounts promoted storylines intended to hurt their candidates in the final weeks of the campaign. They also found that they could successfully push back by flooding the same network with advertising and organized posting from supporters. In most cases, the counterattacks consisted of positive messages about the Democratic candidate or negative messages about their other candidate, the person who they're running against. I mean, come on, let's be honest. In November, a Democratic-leaning bot trafficking firm found that automated accounts of unknown origin played a role in spreading criticism of Latino Victory Fund television ad in Virginia's government race. The spot, which a White House spokesman denounced as political racism, depicted a pickup truck with a Confederate flag and a Republican bumper sticker chasing non-white kids through the suburb neighborhoods. Latino Victory stopped airing the ad after an alleged terrorist killed 8 people in New York with a truck. They're trying to make the point that these ads had bite associated with it. Look, at this point, we've arrived at the point where social media is now a war zone. We're here. Democrats are going to use it. Republicans are going to use it. And we've arrived at this horrendous place where you have bots that are spreading all of this stuff. It's like, what do you know? How do you know which one is a real person versus how do you know it is a bot? And how do you know the information that's being put out there isn't necessarily put out something that's a political operative, let's say it that way. These guys are going to be flooding the internet with Democrat talking points. That's great. Republicans are going to be flooding with bot traffic. That's great. And I would imagine they're also going to buy their own people. It's going to be a fuckfest. This is going to be a fuckfest. Oh, guard. If you want an interesting read, take a look at articles discussing how Israel uses similar strategies to shape United States opinion. There is a, I read this article recently going into, man, I can't remember. I need to find it. The Turing test. That's what it looks like, right? Graham Meek, Turing test. It looks like the Turing test. At a certain point, they're going to get to the point where you're going to have a hard time distinguishing between the person versus the robot. I hate this. I completely hate this. Like, you can't get real support, so you just make it up. You just make it up. Whether that's Republicans or Democrats, you just make the shit up. And if people believe that there's enough of your support, it makes it look like there's more support than there actually is. Yeah, I hate this. I absolutely hate this. Sock puppets. Sock puppets are right. Sock puppets are right. J. Scott, this is straight out of Israel's playbook. Yeah. Ex Machina. Yeah, I've seen Ex Machina. Krillin. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. Alright guys, I'm going to end it here. We've got to get a handle on how we're going about this, because this is a fuckfest. This is a complete and utter fuckfest. What I would say though, and this goes for both parties, not just the Democratic Party, if you need to manufacture support then you have a problem. And the fact that you need to manufacture support to some degree is pointing to the problem. You're not representing the interests of the people who you're trying to garner their support from. I suspect they know that. I suspect they don't care, which is why they have this optics and this theater with regards to trying to convince people or con people into getting their votes using robots or using other people who they're just paying to be their base. I strongly suspect this is just going to end up with people out there harassing people who are not supporting the Democratic candidate. So, astroturfing, yes, astroturfing. Astroturfing indeed. All right, guys, I'm going to end this. This is low energy at this point. It's 1 in the morning. All right, guys, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys. And we're